Hello ladies and gentlemen, you are watching StaticYonder, and today's video is 5 things you need to know before you listen to metal. More accurately, before you become a metalhead. So there are 5 things that I believe every metalhead should know before they start to listen seriously to the genre and start to call themselves a metalhead. So if you think you're that person and you're on the cusp of becoming one of us, then this is the video for you. The first thing you need to know is your idols. Something I wish I'd known before I'd become a metalhead were my idols. Our idols. The idols that all metalheads unanimously agree deserve a place on a pedestal that metalheads hold dear for the rest of time. Those people are generally accepted to be variations on the ones I'm about to tell you. Number 1 is Lemmy. I say number 1 because he's not only right up there at the top, but also he's probably the most well known of this list. Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead. So if you don't know who that is, Lemmy Kilmister was the lead singer and bass player for the very, very famous rock and roll / heavy metal band Motorhead. And he had a very, very unique personality and very, very unique mutton chops that just perfectly underline the kind of once in a blue moon unicorn type person that Lemmy Kilmister was. So if you go into metal not knowing who Lemmy is, you might encounter some issues. The second person on this list is Ronnie James Dio, the lead singer for multiple bands: Elf, Rainbow, Black Sabbath, and Dio. Dio is considered by most the best metal vocalist of all time. He has a great range, an amazing talent to sing both distorted and clean, and he just has this amazing timbre that's unmatched. He is the Freddie Mercury of heavy metal. So, again, Dio's an important one to know. The third person I believe you should know about is Rob Halford, also known to most metalheads as the Metal God. So Rob Halford is the lead singer for Judas Priest. He's also been the lead singer in other bands named Fight, 2, and Halford, his self-titled band, for which he also wrote all the songs. He started out with Judas Priest in the 1970s and carried on with them throughout their career until a small slip in the 1990s where they had a disagreement and Rob went off and had his own solo career, where he joined those other bands that I've mentioned before. He then returned to Judas Priest in 2004 and became the lead singer once again. His replacement, Tim Ripper Owens, stood aside as the cavalier and gentlemanly man he was and let Rob have his position back. He is considered by many to be the best metal vocalist of all time. Generally, the argument when people talk about the best metal vocalists of all time are Bruce Dickinson, another important person that you guys might want to check out yourselves, Ronnie James Dio, and Rob Halford. I personally don't agree that Rob Halford is the best vocalist ever, because his best times of his career are extremely inconsistent, but I would always bow and kneel to him being the Metal God, because he has an unmatched stage persona. So in my opinion, as long as you know who those 3 people are, you'll be fine. The second item on this list is know your classics. Now this is an important one. Just like the previous item, knowing your classics is an important thing, because if you're going to go and listen to metal, and you're going to go and get into bands, and you're going to go to clubs and stuff and listen to heavy metal with other metalheads, and you want to make friends and fans in the community, then you're going to need to know what classical metal songs we all hold dear. I'm going to list a few of them off to you now. Holy Diver by Dio, Rainbow in the Dark by Dio, Breaking the Law by Judas Priest, Painkiller by Judas Priest, Raining Blood and Angel of Death by Slayer, Kings of Metal and Hail and Kill by Manowar, Ace of Spades and Killed by Death by Motorhead, Through the Fire and Flames and Fury of the Storm by Dragonforce, Chop Suey and Toxicity by System of a Down, Psychosocial and Snuff by Slipknot, I Want Out and A Tale That Wasn't Right by Helloween, The Trooper and Run to the Hills by Iron Maiden. And I could go on with this list all day, because there are so many classics that most of us metalheads, again, unanimously agree that we all love. So that's something to expand upon yourselves and do some research. But know your classics, because it will be so helpful to you, even as an icebreaker when you meet other metalheads. Tell them what bands you're into, and when they tell you what bands they're into, if you listen to your classics, usually you'll know at least one of the songs of that band, and you can say, oh yeah, I love this in this song. But be careful, because when you do that, sometimes they might think you're a poser. Item number 3 on the list is your heritage. It's important to know your roots and where you came from. It's a generally accepted idea that Black Sabbath were the first heavy metal band, the first band that owned the moniker and created the sound. By the way, back to point 1, another important person to know is Tony Iommi, the guitarist for Black Sabbath. Mainly our heritage begins here in my home country of England, specifically in Birmingham, which is where both Judas Priest and Black Sabbath originate. If it weren't for that, we wouldn't have the same heavy metal that we do today. But know your heritage, know where metal comes from. We had a massive explosion of metalheads in the 1980s. But also you need to be aware that there are certain genres of metal that most normal metalheads find a little bit controversial. One of those is hair metal, which came in and sort of glamorized and in a way sissified heavy metal at the end of the 1980s. And some people say that it was bands such as Poison that brought heavy metal right down from the pedestal that it was put upon by the metalheads who became the first of our community and our first generation. It was Dio himself that said that. Who am I to argue with Ronnie James Dio? But it's important to know where the other genres come from. Heavy metal might have originated here, but another really important genre is Norwegian black metal. Well, quite funnily enough, originated in Norway. There's death metal, there's thrash metal. All of these genres are important to make a note of, because if you don't know the heritage of all the people involved in your community, then you can come across problems. Just remember that metalheads are down-to-earth people, 9 times out of 10. Number 4 is your perceptions, or more specifically the perceptions of others. A lot of people in this world, still today in 2020, believe that metalheads are horrible, nasty, violent, aggressive, dirty, disgusting people. And that's just not the case. We're normal people who like a certain genre of music that breeds a classical image of strength and power and unity. And a lot of people feel threatened by that message. For example, say you happen to be walking in the street and an old lady comes up to you. She's wearing a cross round her neck. She's about to cross the street, standing next to you, and she suddenly notices that you're wearing a leather jacket, a Slayer t-shirt, she can hear your music in your leaky ass earphones, and you're wearing new rock boots. She is quite likely to turn to you and say, "When was the last time you went to church, young man?" And if you're anything like the person who recounted this story to me, linked to Zach's channel below, you probably won't have a comeback for her. And that's, in a way, the best way to be, because if you prove her right by saying, "Last time you got laid," then you're sort of perpetuating the message that all metalheads are assholes. We're not. But you're gonna be a target for people's prejudices. People's perceptions of metalheads, even these days, aren't as squeaky clean as we might like. But that's life, and understanding that is a part of becoming a successful member of this community. And number 5, which sort of relates to number 4, is your challenges. Once you decide that you are a metalhead, that you want to be part of this community, and that you want to grow as a person and as a music fan, you need to be aware of and willing to accept the challenges that you might face. So as with all alternative communities in the world, such as the punks, the goths, and even cyber goths and steampunk, and all these wonderful people who happen to like something a little bit different, you're going to face challenges such as the prejudices that I mentioned in the perception stage of this video. It's not just that, it's also your families. For example, you might be scared to become a metalhead because you come from a very conservative family, or a very Christian family, or even a very liberal family who believe that metal is violent and so forth. You have to be aware that these are challenges you're going to face, but if you're willing to accept them for what they are, you can still become a metalhead and own that moniker, no matter what other people say. That's another very important thing. The biggest challenge that I suffered as a metalhead was coming to terms with myself. Becoming a person who knows themselves inside out, in a way, is part of being a metalhead. Because a lot of the themes that are in our music encourage us to be strong, encourage us to be willing to do what needs to be done. So, as long as you're willing to accept yourself for who you are, you'll be fine. Anyway, those are the 5 things that I believe everybody should know before deciding they're a metalhead. You need to know your idols, you need to know your classics, your heritage, yours and other people's perceptions, and of course, the challenges you might face when you become a metalhead. This has just been a very short, pretty much ad-libbed dissertation on what I went through and what I think you guys should know before you become a metalhead. So, bear in mind what I've said. Don't let other people tell you what to do. If you like metal, like metal. If you like a band that all the other metalheads slate, like that band. Unless they are fucking actual criminals who are doing people harm, like them. You like what you like. And one thing about our community is that we have got our own assholes, and we will rip each other apart. It goes back to the old adage, no one hates metalheads more than metalheads. So don't listen to what other people say unless they're trying to help you. And if it doesn't look like they're trying to help you, chuck it out. Save the best and discard the rest. Motto I live by. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a like and a comment below, and please consider subscribing if you want to see more of this kind of content. But hit the bell, because if you don't hit the bell icon and click all notifications, YouTube won't tell you when I upload. Probably end up somewhere buried under your other notifications. So if you want to see more heavy metal related content, reaction videos, and short films and skits, which is other things I do, then please subscribe. From your local and friendly neighbourhood metalhead, I bid you a good night.